with your kids.
Hola, niho, konnichiwa, assalamu alaikum, shalom, mahaba, monamili wanji, namaste, jambo, bienvenidos. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. We're coming to you from the beautiful neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are so delighted and so very honored that you join us in our mission to help all families grow closer through reading. Please be sure to tell all of your family and friends about the show. Please also be sure to tell your kids' teachers, their librarian, their principal, and also please be sure to subscribe to the show on the iHeartRadio app, on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Good Pods, wherever you find your podcasts. Our guest today is Juanita Banks Woodington. She's here to celebrate I Love My Daddy. Before we invite Juanita into the studio, we want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by Traveling Tootsie, the delightful and award-winning picture book by Karen and Kathy Honecker. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Are you looking for ways to instill the love of travel into your kids? Well, check out Traveling Tootsie by Kathy and Karen Honecker. It is an enchanting children's book that follows the adventures of Katie, Stephen, and their teddy bear Tootsie. Katie and Stephen devise a clever plan that allows Tootsie to experience the wonders of Washington, D.C. The excitement builds as Tootsie embarks on an unexpected journey secretly stashed away in their father's suitcase. Will Tootsie be able to make it back to Katie and Stephen in time to share their awe-inspiring experiences? You're going to have to read the book to find out. It's Traveling Tootsie by Karen and Kathy Honecker. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is also brought to you by Lucas and the Game of Chance, an exciting middle grade novel written by Anthony L. Manna. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. You've heard me talk about Lucas and the Game of Chance many times here on the podcast. I want to share with you one of the many 5-star reviews Lucas and the Game of Chance received on Amazon. Mystical, magical, adventurous, and necessary. Lucas and the Game of Chance is more than a story about a young, poor boy named Lucas, his magical flute, and a generous snake. It is a story about struggles, greed, and consequences, and aims to remind us about the importance of friendship, family, and values. I love it. I think that sums up this fantastic book that you and your kids are going to love reading together. Our certified great read panel love it. We know that you're going to love it too. Lucas and the Game of Chance by Anthony Manna. And we also want to let you know that this episode is brought to you by All Fish Faces. Photos and fun facts about tropical reef fish, written and photographed by Tam Warner Minton. Ocean lovers and budding marine biologists will adore the second edition of All Fish Faces, an underwater treasure of tropical reef fish faces, some fierce, some fun, but all a joy for fish fans young and old. Colorful photography, including the names of every fish featured, creates a colorful dive log worth experiencing again and again. This book introduces kids and their families to our ocean friends, and it will create a generation of excited, enthusiastic, and caring ocean lovers who want to make a difference in the world. You know, I think this is a perfect book for reluctant readers because there are so many beautiful pictures that will capture their attention and their curiosity, and they're going to want to know what fish they're looking at, and they're going to be able to read about it, and it's going to excite them and help them develop a love of reading, in addition to developing a love of the ocean. Get your copy today, All Fish Faces by Tam Warner Minton. Join us right now from the great state of Maryland. Our guest is here today to celebrate her debut children's picture book. It's called I Love My Daddy. Please welcome to the show, Juanita Banks Woodington. Juanita, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing well today. The weather is good here in Maryland.
Yeah, it's a nice day here in Boston, too. And it's so wonderful when you can get out and enjoy the sunshine and nature, and it's especially fun when you can get out there and do it with your kids.
Yeah, most likely when I pick up my daughter from daycare, her name is Zuri, she'll probably want to go ride her bike. So we'll probably be outside doing that once she gets home.
That's wonderful. Now, I'm guessing that perhaps your daughter was the one who inspired this book?
Yes, so between her and my husband, Ian, my husband kept telling me when he would read books to Zuri that there weren't many diverse fathers in the books that he was reading. So that gave me an idea to write a children's book about a little girl and her father and just the day that they spend together.
I love that. You're bringing back wonderful memories of me and my daughter. And I'm just in the middle of a text conversation with her right now. She's a little bit older than your daughter. My daughter's 27. But that time that we spend together with our kids when they're 5 and 6 and riding their bikes, if we make the investment of our time with our kids at that age, the relationships just grow and grow. And it really is a very wise investment of our time.
Yes, I definitely agree. I know for me, it was important that my husband had certain things that were for them, right? So he wakes her up in the morning. He puts her down and read to her. I just do the bath time. So I don't feel like my role is as special. But, the last week he had to do a course 2 nights in a row in the evening. And she would not let me read to her. Like, that's their thing. Like, I think if he wasn't in the house, she might have let me. But because she knew he was in his office, she was like, no, I'm waiting for daddy to read to me. And she just gave me the blues. But I love the relationship that they have together. That really means a lot to me, especially growing up. I didn't have my father there. So for her to have her father really meant a lot for me.
It's really hard to describe the relationship and the bond that a dad and a daughter can have. It really is quite special.
Yeah, it is. I don't think that people really think about it, until you go through certain experiences or you even see books like mine where you're like, oh my gosh, like I cannot tell you how many people that I show my book to and they kind of tear up because it really brings back memories of, whoever they had, whether it was an uncle, their father, or whoever, just being that father figure and reading to them when they were younger. So that is just, it just warms me up when I see that type of stuff. I had an event over the weekend and I had so many parents and little girls and little boys that were like, oh my gosh, I met an author that looks like me and the characters look like me. I don't care what the book is about. I'm getting it.
Yeah. Now, the name of your website is Diverse Books Matter.
Diverse children's books matter.
Diverse children's books matter. Why, and I agree with you, but can you talk a little bit more about why it is so very important for kids to be able to see themselves positively portrayed in the pages of books?
Yeah, I just feel like if you don't see somebody that looks like you can't relate to maybe that character because they may not be doing something that you do in your own household. And recently, as I've been collecting like some data to present to like some of the schools here in Maryland, I have realized that there really is not a lot of diverse books in the schools that were actually written by diverse authors. And I was really taken back because there are a lot of books, and it does matter that they are out there, but they may be Caucasian individuals that are writing books about individuals of diverse backgrounds, but that's not who they are. So in a way, for me, they may not be representing what that young person may actually experience in their household. So I found that very interesting. But even for the ones that are in the schools and they are diverse, whether it's the illustrator, the author, and the characters, it just to see the kids light up and say, or even when I do school readings, to say, I want this book, or they're trying to fight over my book because they're like, oh my gosh, I've never seen people that look exactly like me, or even, at the age group, because it's like pre-K to kindergarten. They're like, oh, it's Disney characters that looks like my mommy and my daddy, and even look like me. They have curly, kinky hair. Oh, my dad doesn't have hair. They're bald. So my husband is bald. So even just portraying that in the book, it means so much for people who haven't seen that in a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Times are changing, right? But just to see the statistics gradually go up is amazing, but it's still work to be done.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have and I don't mean to ask you to pull statistics out of your head. I can't do it for the life of me. But can you give us an idea of what percentage of books are out there that feature diverse characters?
Yeah. So when I was doing some of my research, you're gonna have me pull it up right there. I was looking at the CCBC. So the CCBC is a organization that gets in books every year, and they look at the amount of people who are diverse in it and the characters. So I'm pulling it up right now. So the CCBC is the Cooperative Children's Book Center. And for 2022, diversity statistics, 3,450 books received. Only 39% had individuals with the character that was diverse, right? So above that, they show that 71% was books that were received that was a white creator. So that was 2,448 books out of 3,450. So it's not a lot, but the numbers have drastically changed. I didn't get a chance to go further in detail, but it did say that the numbers have changed 3 times in the last 5 years. So the numbers have increased 3x, which is awesome because you have to think it's at 71% now, showing that it's just a white author or creator, and 39% of it is individuals of diverse backgrounds. So I couldn't even imagine what it was 5 years ago if it's only 39%. So I did find that. And then I also was just looking at the rates at schools here in Maryland. So of course I'm still waiting for some statistics to come back, but I have just received access for my county in Anne Arundel County, Maryland, and it shows me all of the books that the schools have access to. So I have to go through it and kind of see of those books which ones are diverse, because they do not have like the statistics on it yet, but I am working with the school to kind of break it out. Because I'm not sure if anyone ever asked them about that. Because when I asked, she was like, oh my gosh, you're asking a lot of questions, right? But I think that that does matter, especially when you're trying to break down, okay, from pre-K to fifth grade, how many books do children have access to that may be diverse?
Yeah.
You know?
One of the things that we love to celebrate here on the podcast is the fact that books are beautiful vehicles that can be mirrors, windows, and sliding glass doors. And of course, we just spoke about the value of a book being a mirror, giving a kid a chance to see themselves or someone who looks like them portrayed positively in the pages of a book. Can you talk a little bit about the value of kids being able to look through a window and seeing a different culture portrayed positively in a book?
Yeah, I think that having other cultures portrayed that's not the person may not look like you is awesome as well, because that just gives kids another insight to understand, hey, my family may look different than Bobby's family over here, but it's okay that they have these different experiences. Or, oh, I saw this activity in a book and it showed this for Bobby's family. I would love to experience that. So it just helps them to maybe bring in things that may be different, even for their family, that their parents may not have even been aware of.
Mm-hmm.
It just exposes them to something new and different. And, I believe that books, that are being introduced to children at young ages, it's just setting that foundation for them to want to say, you know what, I want to do this when I grow up, or I want to be more of an explorer, and I want to try different foods and do different things that I may not have done in my household, but I saw it in these books. And now my imagination is just flourished into wanting to do all of these great things.
Yeah, that is right. It is so great for our kids to have an opportunity to see a character in a book, to read a story about a character and say, I want to do that. And to have that book give them the inspiration to believe that they can actually accomplish that dream.
Yeah, I just find that just what you see growing up. Sometimes it can be positive, sometimes it can be negative. But for a lot of children, reading books could be their outlet. And to see those things written down just boosts their imagination tenfold. That's kind of how I look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Hey, we're talking about all these statistics and the value of kids seeing themselves in the pages of the books, and you said that this book was inspired by your daughter. But we haven't talked about the story that we're going to be reading when we sit down and read I Love My Daddy with our kids.
Yeah, so I Love My Daddy is really every day in my household. So as I said before, my husband, Ian, he wakes my daughter up in the morning. So the first scene is literally him giving her a hug and a kiss, right? And then from there, it's him and her in the kitchen. So she loves to help. So she's making my tea. I don't drink coffee, but she helps make my tea in the mornings. So, and then it goes on to him helping her put on her sparkly boots and them going outside and her blowing bubbles because she loves bubbles, right? Who doesn't at 2.5?
Mm-hmm.
And then she's riding her bike together. And we even have my dog Ivy that's in the book. So Ivy's a Boston Terrier. So you see Ivy in the yard running. You also see her in the back of of my daughter Zeri's bicycle in the basket, just riding along. There's also scenes in the book that you will see my husband trying to eat and Zeri's trying to eat food off of his plate, But those are all things that happens in my household. even from her playing with her favorite toys. So when she plays with her favorite toys, in the scene, it has a piano that's pink. She has a pink piano at home. It also has her little kitchenette set that's also in the book, right? So everything that you see in here is something relatable. It's something that happens daily in my life. Also, it goes into her asking, daddy for candy, and me in the picture saying no. And my husband is kind of like, hey, I already gave it to her, right? So that's something I know a lot of parents deal with, saying no to candy, and the other parents, still giving it to them. And then another scene within the book is my husband reading to her, right? So I said from the beginning, what, influenced me to write the book was him reading to her and not seeing a lot of diverse fathers. And then it pretty much ends with him and me hugging her good night and him giving both of us kisses. So it's all something positive, and it's something that any family can relate to. And that's what I thought about when I wrote it.
Very, very sweet. It just, and again, as I said earlier, it just reminds me of, when my daughter was younger and the time that we spent together. So congratulations on writing such a wonderful book. And congratulations for starting a company dedicated to creating diverse children's books. Are you planning on bringing other authors to the page and bringing books by other authors to families, or is it something that you're just going to focus on your own work?
Right now, I think I'm just going to focus on me, but you never know what the future holds, right? But right now it's just me. I never thought I would even be an author. I never thought I would be on the news and in magazines or anything. So for me, I'm just like, wow. But you never know. I am open to working with other authors, but right now I'm not sure about bringing on anybody.
Yeah. Now, you mentioned that you never dreamed of being a children's author. What was it? I know that the relationship between your daughter and your husband inspired the story, but what was it that gave you the spark to say, oh, I can do this. I can step up and actually be a kid's author and be a publisher?
Yeah, so when I was going through it, like we would read books to her, and I'm like, oh man, this book is very simple, or it made me think of like the old ROM books from when I was growing up. And I said, you know what? I think I might write a book, and I want to make sure it's something that my daughter can always look back on and say, my mommy did this, so I can do anything I want to do, no matter what, because she did all of these things and had no clue, but she did it. So when I thought of it, I was like, okay, let me just try it out. And I wrote it, and, I gave it to some family members like, hey, what do you think? And they were all like, oh my gosh, I really like it. They're like, it's cute. I really like that it's relatable, and I just move forward.
That's wonderful. Yeah. Hey, Juanita, where can people go to find out more about I Love My Daddy and find out more about you?
Yeah, so they can, of course, purchase the book on Amazon. I am available for online purchase in Barnes & Noble and Books A Million now. But if you want to know more about me, they can go onto my website, which is diversecbm.com, and they'll see some information about me there. And they can also follow me on social media, and I am at Nehi Cares LLC. It's NEHI Cares CARES LLC.
We've had a wonderful time speaking to the author of I Love My Daddy, a beautiful picture book from our guest, Juanita Banks Woodington. Juanita, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Gregory G. Allen. He'll be here to celebrate the Monsters of Merrymont Mansion. It is an absolutely wonderful conversation. The conversation about the book is fantastic. We also have a really in-depth conversation about performance and performances in school. So if you are an author hoping to create a school presentation that will excite kids and get folks interested in your book, you want to give this episode a listen. It's the next episode of the podcast with Gregory G. Allen. I want to thank the folks who made today's show so wonderful. Of course, we're going to start by thanking our guest, Juanita Banks Woodington. Please be sure to check out I Love My Daddy. Also want to thank our sponsors, Traveling Tootsie, the delightful picture book by Karen and Kathy Honecker. It is a Reading with Your Kids certified great read. Hey, another sponsor and another certified great read, Lucas and the Game of Chance, written by Anthony Mena. And we also want to thank All Fish Faces, written by Tam Warner-Minton. I want to give a special thanks to my amazing team, Fatima Khan, Rory Grady, Ann O'Leary, Soji Franklin. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all the support she gives me. Most of all, I want to thank my beautiful audience. That's you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so very much for taking the time to make the world a better place by reading with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.